is KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
Hello and welcome into another edition of Three Ma. I am John Kurtz, joined as always by Derek Young from K-State Online and the Grinch who stole K-State athletics here today. On the show, as always, it is brought to you by 360 Vodka and Ben Holiday Bottled and Bond Bourbon, of course, from our friends at Holiday Distillery. I'm sure the Grinch would enjoy throwing some of those back. I'm not sure how exactly it fits through said mask, but, you know, you could figure out some way. I know he's breathing, so there's some way to get something in there. And if you can, sure it would be Ben Holiday Bottled in Bond Bourbon or 360 Vodka to make that happen. So get stocked up. K-State Hoops coming up on Sunday. You're going to want to have that for a nice little Sunday matinee basketball game against the Nebraska Cornhuskers. And, hey, we're not too far out from the Pop-Tarts Bowl. So I think I saw somebody on social media yesterday was doing a booze pairing with different Pop-Tarts. So hopefully they got worked in their Ben Holiday Bottled and Bond Bourbon and 360 Vodka with all of those choices. Today, we're going to talk a lot of football, a little bit of basketball as we look ahead to K-State, Nebraska. But basketball has encompassed a lot of attention with the Naquan Tomlin situation, Richard Litton, everything that's been happening there. So football has been out of the spotlight a little bit. And to be honest, like under normal circumstances, we would probably be talking a ton about football and freaking out a little bit about football and everything that has happened. With Colin Klein leaving, the portal numbers climbing. Last night, I saw K-State had the second most number of transfer portal entries of anybody in the Big 12 to this point. And so I know a lot of people have been very nervous about this, have been very scared off by this. I guess let's start there. I mean, look, Kobe Savage was the latest to hit the portal. He is reportedly visiting Oregon and Washington this weekend. So he is another guy that's been fairly highly sought after. Nate Matlack, another guy from that defense, has been in the portal. He's had some solid offers. Will Lee committed to Texas A&M, actively using his family members to try and recruit against K-State on Twitter. Will Howard obviously is in the portal. I'm trying to think, is there another significant contributor that I'm missing there? Okay, Treshaun Ward. So you're really here. That's where I'm going to start this conversation is like people look at the overall number, which was at like 18 or 19 and start to freak out about it. But if you really break it down, I mean, it's like 5 guys that were legitimate contributors. And I think Will Howard is somebody most are okay with passing on as you have the Avery Johnson era starting. So you're down to like 4 legitimate contributors there. And I'm not saying that these guys don't hurt because it does, but I would stop short of calling this some kind of crazy mass exodus. You know, I mean, a couple of the guys in the portal were quarterbacks that knew they were going to be behind Avery Johnson and just never play, right? I mean, so there's a lot of situations like that make everything look scarier, and people still aren't as used to what the portal is like in college football these days. But still, Kobe's like Nate Matlack's a Kansas guy. He grew up a K-State fan. Kobe Savage is a dude who was vocal about being one of the leaders of that defense. You know, Will Lee, really highly touted prospect last year. I don't know that anybody's going to say he was necessarily a high culture guy after watching the Iowa State game, but, you know, I digress. He was a pretty talented dude. Where do you assess where things are at with all of that right now, DY?
Yeah, I don't really worry as much about the 18 or 19 thing because I do think 3 or 4 of those are walk-ons, and some of those are still, because I think they do a 12-month cycle from prior. I think the number's probably more accurately 14 or 15 when you really look at it. A chunk of those were probably encouraged. So that's where I fall off on the whole quantity thing as well. And like I said, it's those 5 or 6 players. As a whole, you can make an argument that you're losing a lot of production and you're losing a lot of snaps and experience, and you definitely are. But and just because you can explain each of them away in isolation doesn't mean it's exactly ideal either. So I kind of took the line of where this is at, because in the case of Will Howard, it kind of had to be a split because it kind of has to be the Avery Johnson era right now. In the case of Treshaun Ward, he probably didn't get the touches or the usage that he was hoping for because the number one clearly was DJ Giddens for most of the year. Even if you want to throw in RJ Garcia, he went from starter and a guy I talked about a lot at the beginning of the season to by the end of the year, he was having a hard time getting on the field altogether. Named Matlack, a guy with a lot of production and a lot of snaps. But if we want to be honest, he wasn't even a starter. Kobe Savage, that's the one that's probably the hardest to explain away because he was a definite starter with a lot of snaps and a lot of production and a guy that was a perceived leader on the team, right? And then you have Will Lee, who is probably the most talented cornerback in the room. I say probably, he is the most talented cornerback in the room. But technically, both of Keenan Garber and Jacob Parrish got like the same amount of snaps as he did, so they'll be ready. They're going to need depth there now, or maybe another dude. But so you can explain all these away in isolation, but when you put them all together, I can see the concern, and I'm not going to tell people how to feel. I just don't think they're in a complete terrible spot because of the way that this is played out. But at the same time, because they were stunned and did fight back on a couple of these, mainly I think Kobe Savage, Nate Matlack, I think there probably wasn't time for them to prepare for this kind of exodus because some of those cases they didn't foresee happening. And then I think you have another one here that could unfold in a similar way in Brendan Mott as well. So they have more heavy lifting to do on the recruiting trail and through the transfer portal than what I think that they were anticipating.
But we can say they didn't really fight hard on Will Lee, Trayshawn Ward, or Will Howard, correct?
No, I don't believe so. I think those situations they understood were going to happen.
Yeah. Well, Grinch, what does all this look like to you from the Ivory Tower in Anderson Hall?
Well. It is great to be with my three favorite podcasters on 3Maw. I would echo what DY said, and that really the only guy that they fought hard to keep up until the Kobe Savage entrance into the portal was Nate Matlack. It was all really a mutual understanding on some of the other guys, and then we knew some of these other guys that were backups were going to enter the portal, and it made sense, and it was mutually reached to that conclusion. So the only two that really sting because we know the staff would have liked to keep them was Kobe Savage and Nate Matlack. Kobe Savage had told the staff he was coming back. He didn't walk on senior day. He was planning to return. Something happened over the last week. Cha-ching, in all likelihood. And, he's moving on. And Oregon was in Manhattan recruiting him yesterday. Had a source on the spot that saw Oregon's defensive coordinator in Manhattan visiting with Kobe Savage. So a report came out from On3 that Kobe is going to visit Washington and Oregon over the next few days. So look, that one does sting. And then Nate Matlack, just because you're going to have a lack of returning depth at defensive end at this point. And if Brendan Mott chooses to move on, which there's a pretty good chance of occurring, as DY has said, then you're going to have to go land a transfer defensive end, and you're going to have to hope that Jordan Allen, Chidi, Obi Izor, and other young players in the program step up.
It's pretty good analysis for a guy that's busy trying to steal.
I've gotten into football up on my snowflake up there, watching things from afar, and I love Kansas State. So, yeah.
So, well, if we could get your heart to grow a couple sizes, it seems like that would help everybody. That's working with you quite a bit. If you could get that heart to expand, please.
Well, I'll do my best. So, as the movie plays out, my heart does grow. So, yeah.
Okay.
This mask is so hot, guys.
Yeah. Well, feel free to take it off, and let's hope that the.
I gotta stay in character. Vanessa loves this. So, hi, honey. Hi, Vanessa.
Hopefully that heart can grow by late March, early April. That would really help out if that could happen. Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, look, I echo most of those thoughts. Like you can bleed. It's not like any of these were like a total bomb that went off and blew everything up, but you can only bleed out so long before you need something to stop the bleeding. So, we talked about this the other day, guys. I think it was Cole. I said, like, hey, they have time, right? I mean, the portal, you still got some time, and there's another portal window, but then Cole was like, well, no, with the holidays, you really don't have all that much time. Like, how much of a time crunch are they in here, DUI, to make sure that they're filling all these needs in the portal over the next couple of weeks?
Not necessarily a time crunch, because the portal window is for people to enter and not necessarily to make choices. Obviously, you'd like to have them, on campus for spring football. So by the beginning of spring semester, you got to have some of these guys locked in. And you already got one in Easton Kilty, the offensive line transfer from North Dakota. And they had 3 visitors last weekend. Another one was a junior college defensive lineman, and Malcolm Alcorn Crowder from Butler Community College. I think at least 7 visitors this weekend, and a lot of them being transfers. Don't know the identities of all of them, but another busy weekend. So they're really attacking it.
So, John, I misspoke then. No, I'm sorry. You have until January 3rd to enter the portal, right, DY? But you can choose. Yeah, January is the 2nd. It's that first week of January, but you can select your new school up until the spring semester starts, at least, right? Or even middle in the spring semester.
Middle, heck, they're probably going to have transfers that don't arrive in middle of June, right?
Yeah, so I told you wrong, John. I'm sorry. They do have time. It's just a matter of guys that enter the portal. What a Grinch mistake.
Yeah, well, it's okay. Happens to the best of us. Where are the most pressing needs right now then, DY? And what do you know about visitors that may be coming in? What are you able to tell us there? Before we get to K-State did, as I say, they need to stop the bleeding. They have stopped the bleeding within the last 48 hours with a big transfer and a big high school commitment. But as far as what the needs are going to be.
Yeah, and the high school commit was a 4-star wide receiver in Trey Davis from the state of Texas. So that's pretty big. And I think the last 5 high school commits have all been flips, some of them from the group of 5. So in terms of the transfer portal, the needs are definitely the line of scrimmage. Maybe they're done at offensive line. I couldn't tell you. Obviously, they got the big one already. I think some services have Kilty as the number 2 tackle in the transfer portal, I want to say. So that's huge. Probably not shedding enough light on that, to be quite honest, just because of what that can do for them. He's got the versatility to play inside now. Unlike we remember Cooper Beebe is a 3-year starter, so Easton Kilty is going to be huge. But the line of scrimmage is important. I mean, they had a JUCO D lineman visit last weekend. I think they're going to have 2 or 3 more defensive linemen coming up. Because think about it, assuming Brennan Mott is the next to go, you lose all 4 of your top defensive ends technically, with Brendan Mott, Nate Matlack, Khalid Duke, and Cody Stuffleby. So your top 4 defensive ends could all be gone. Javon Banks was a nose guard for you this year. That'll probably slide to DN and mitigate some of that. But so you're going to need a nose guard. You're going to need 2 or 3 DNs in the portal or JUCO level, whatever route you choose to go to in terms of finding a transfer. So those pop out, significantly, blinking red lights, those positions. And clearly they're trying to attack the wide receiver position. And I know one of them is already pretty well known. The receiver from New Mexico State, I think he had 10 touchdowns this past year, I want to say.
He did.
Trent Hudson that is visiting. Not a lot of catches, but he had 10 touchdowns, 8 of them in the red zone. So this is just a big target that seems to be a red zone guy. And now that we know Kobe Savage is on the way out, you'd have to think that, they were probably fine in the secondary. Maybe you want a corner. Maybe you want a safety. I know they like Justice James to supplement Keenan Garber and Jacob Parrish fairly well. Is Kenigel Thomas going to be ready next year? If he is, maybe they don't have to go portal corner, but portal safety seems like something they might have to do.
And I think receiver, to your point, DY, I think receiver is a pretty big need at this point. I think they need multiple transfers. I mean, they get the 2 high school kids and Trey Davis and Spradley Dimps, who are really good gets, and we can talk about them more. But I think they need a couple of veteran guys to come in, because you're losing Phillip Brooks, who led the team from your wide receiver position this year. RJ Garcia is moving on. Xavier Lloyd, I know he was a walk-on, but he did get a few snaps. Seth Porter's gone. Shane Porter moves on. I know he's a walk-on. But you just don't, outside of Keegan Johnson and Jace Brown, you don't have a lot of proven production returning at receiver. I know they have a lot of high hopes for Trey Spivey, and we would expect him to be in the mix, potentially even in the bowl game here. But you definitely have to land some bodies there. So Trent Hudson, that's a starting point. 550 yards last year at New Mexico State, junior college player that came from Trinity Community College. He had almost 800 yards in his last season at Trinity before he went over to New Mexico State. And as you mentioned, 10 touchdowns. He had 112 yards receiving on 7 grabs and 2 touchdowns against Liberty in their conference championship game. Liberty obviously is going to the New Year's Six because they didn't lose a game this year. Good team, although Liberty played one of the weakest schedules in the country. But to that point, Trent Hudson would be a nice starting point to land at wide receiver. A bigger body, 6'3", 180, 185 pounds. So it gives you some length, probably an outside boundary receiver. And then they probably want a slot guy. I think the Utah receiver, I believe it's Mikey Matthews, is a guy that they've looked at, but he may go to Arizona. He took a visit to Arizona over the last week, and I believe I read a report that he's talking to Boise State and K-State today or tomorrow as well, but I don't know if he's even going to take a visit. He was a guy that was mentioned to me a couple weeks ago to keep an eye on. He's a slot guy. That's more like that 5'8" type wide receiver, smaller guy. A little more quick, young player, had 261 yards at Utah last year. And then there's the Kelly kid out of Josh Kelly, DY out of Washington State.
I don't think that's going to happen.
You don't think so? Okay. My heart just decreased in size again. Thank you.
Great work, DY. Great work. All right. Well, K-State did get, as we mentioned, a couple of nice commitments here in the last couple of days. Number 2 offensive tackle in the portal and 4-star receiver, top 300 kid out of the state of Texas, and we will get to that in just a moment. But those of you that are watching online, I'm sure what you've noticed if you have tuned in on YouTube here is, of course, one of the 3 of us is dressed quite well today, and that is me in my Home Field Apparel hoodie that I have on right now, which you can grab at homefieldapparel.com, and you can get 15% off if it's your first order with promo code 3MAW23. Christmas coming up. If it's not for you, what about the Wildcat friends in your life? Make sure to get to homefieldapparel.com. Use promo code 3MAW23 to get 15% off your first order. You can get whatever school it is that you want. DY today is actually wearing K-State, but we've seen Hawaii, we've seen Northern Iowa, we've seen Ole Miss, we've seen all sorts of different schools there. They have 100+ on the site. They have 40+ K-State designs. It is the place to go to get your K-State gear, homefieldapparel.com. And we are back in just a moment.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network. Make sure you download our new app. Find it on the App Store or Google Play. Just search KC Sports Network.
Okay, so the Grinch is gone now? The Grinch left?
Now I'm just jolly. So I was dying in there. It was really hot.
Santa has appeared, apparently.
Well, I don't have the beard. So
okay. All right.
I'm glad that I am trying to lift people's spirits. It has been a trying time over the last few days. So whatever we can do to get a laugh, Vanessa's probably going to check me into somewhere after all this, but she caught me wearing this on I was recording a quick video on our Patreon page last week, and she walked by the office and saw me dressed like that. And I think she's worried about me after the way things have gone. So
why does this costume exist in the first place?
I bought it to scare all the neighborhood kids a couple years ago on Amazon. So,
okay. I
actually bought it to scare my own children. And it was like $100 costume. It was one of the top rated Grinch costumes. So I bought it. Vanessa absolutely hates it. I'm surprised she hasn't thrown it in the trash, but she doesn't know where I hide it. So I have a secret hiding spot. So that's the backstory.
That's good. Easton Kilty, DY, he is the number 2 offensive tackle in the transfer portal. He is a former North Dakota offensive lineman, but definitely fulfills a need for the Wildcats on this offensive line. Imagine this is going to be plug-and-play starter. You certainly hope so anyway, but he had offers from Texas A&M, Texas Tech, Arkansas, Oklahoma State, Auburn, Mississippi State, NC State, Purdue, Iowa State. So a laundry list of Power 5 suitors here. K-State wins this battle. And that was the first domino to fall after you had all these different paper cuts that were coming in the way of the transfers that had hit the portal so far. So the significance of getting Kiltley here out of the portal.
It's big. I already touched on it a little bit, but you're talking about a 3-year starter with the versatility to play inside and out. That is one of the best offensive line transfers in the entire country. As we all know, it is tough to get offensive linemen, quality offensive linemen in the transfer portal because it's such a need and it's in high demand. Everybody's chasing it. And typically that drives, quite frankly, the price up, and it could really be hard to get your hands on one. But so this is huge for Kansas State to be able to do so. As the immediate starter, I can't tell you. It's probably way too early to speculate on that. You would think that he's got the talent and the ability to work his way into that. It's just hard to know how the pieces of the puzzle are going to fit. You're going to have Carver Willis back, obviously, but John Pastore is ascending. In the interior, your offensive line, that you got to figure out what you're going to do with the center spot first, and then be able to kind of maneuver and put the guys in place that you want to. But you're anticipating to have Taylor Portier, Andrew Langang, and Hadley Panzer. So are all three of your interior pieces lined up there? I don't know, because they like Sam Hecht at center as well. Carver Willis has played a lot. John Pastore is not. Does that just mean Kelty just walks right into left tackle? Those are things that will probably be ironed out during the spring, but it definitely gives Kansas State a bit more experience, a bit more depth that they're probably lacking, at least proven depth, because you lose your entire offensive line essentially besides Panzer and Portier. And you got the way that he can kind of do what Cooper Beebe did for the Wildcats and play basically every position on the offensive line but center. That enables you to kind of work a combination to make sure you get your best 5 on the field.
Do you think they move Carver Willis out to left tackle, DY? Would they toy with that next year?
I don't know. It seems like did he really get comfortable at right tackle too? So.
Yeah, you don't want to mess with a good thing where you might be solid. Yeah, I mean, we know they love John Pastore and just haven't gotten to see him play really any meaningful snaps. So, I like having swinging offensive linemen, though, that can play guard, can play tackle, like Cooper Beebe, and I'm not comparing him to that, but, I think that's a really beneficial add. How many Power 5 offers did he get when he entered the portal? It was more than a dozen, right?
Well, John already listed.
Oh, I just rounded it up.
Did you? All right. Sorry. My apologies.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 that are listed in the article from good old K-State Online.
All right. Well, good work, K-State Online. There's some quality people over there.
I've heard they're pretty plugged in.
They are. They're really good at what they do. Check them out. So yeah, I like the addition. Do you think they take one more offensive lineman, DY?
That's the question, because if you start doing that, then do you make some others in that room a little nervous? So you got to be careful. They got to read the pulse and the temperature of the room.
The things that, I'm all for the players having these options, but it is, you think about everything that goes into a coach's job these days with the options that everybody has available to it. That's crazy. That's a part of the calculus. Right. But yeah, you gotta be like psychologist a little bit here and read the temperature of your room.
Yeah, because if you get another tackle, then all of a sudden, since you have Kelty, do you kind of worry about Pastore or Willis seeing the right? Do you know what I mean? They were like, I don't know about this. Now there's 4 guys that are going to play, and Pastore is like, I was 4th last year and I didn't play.
Yeah.
And then a guard or an interior guy, you got Langang, Panzer, Portier. What are you going to do? Play 10 linemen every game? I don't think so. So you got to be careful.
We've heard so much buzz since Andrew Langang got to Kansas State. I hope he hits the ceiling that they had thought going into year 4 next year. And then, I'll be really interested with a guy like Taylor Portier, because he's coming back another year removed from the knee injuries. Is he stronger? Is he more comfortable and back to the player that we thought when he got in his 2nd or 3rd year in the program? So I'm really, really excited to see what Taylor Portier can do another year removed from those injuries as well.
All right, on the high school front, we have also already mentioned this, but Trey Davis, the latest commitment for the Wildcats, coming on Tuesday. 4-star receiver, according to On3, top 300 prospect, one of the top, where was he at wide receiver wise? DY, I'm going to screw this up. I'm looking at 76. 76 is what it looks like, according to On3. Top 100 player in the state of Texas. At one time committed to Washington State, but K-State now has 2 2 4-star wide receiver commits in this high school class, which is very promising, obviously, to pair with Avery Johnson, and hope that that's going to be something that we see come to fruition. But how big of a get was this? Not only just to boost everybody's spirits based on what was going on, but in practicality with the offense moving forward.
Yeah, you want good receivers now. According to On3, you have, and I think they're the only ones that have ranked these two as such, but they have Jaquiz Bradley-Demps and Trey Davis both as 4 stars. And I think 76 might be the industry ranking, which is a combination of the 4 networks, but I think On3 specifically had Trey Davis and Bradley-Demps both in the 40s in the receiver rankings and both in the top 300. So just from a ranking standpoint, if you really want to give some life to the On3 rankings, and I've heard those guys are pretty good as well. I think you're getting 2 really good prospects. You should at least be excited about the upside. Does not mean they are absolutely going to be dudes and they can still stumble, but you'd rather them be ranked highly than not.
Yeah, I thought On3 might have screwed up the Avery Johnson rating, but I think they've been really solid with Trey Davis and Bradley-Demps. So they have Bradley-Demps at the 275th ranked player in the country. Remember how big it used to be? Like if you got like a Rivals 250 guy or one of those guys in the top 250, Bradley-Demps is number 275 in the country, according to On3 specifically, the number 46 player at wide receiver by position, and then the number 44 player in the state of Texas. And then Trey Davis is the number 278 player in the country, according to On3 specifically, the number 47 receiver and the number 45 player in the state of Texas. So 2 nice ads. Trey Davis, 6'1", Bradley-Demps, 6'1". So, decent size there, good speed, good additions. Now you're going to land a couple transfer receivers to come in. But you start to see a nice nucleus of young receivers in the program with a Trey Spivey, a Jace Brown, and then Trey Davis and Bradley-Demps coming in. So you've got back-to-back nice classes of prep receivers.
A couple other things I'll mention here on the football front. Ben Sinnott officially declared for the draft. Phillip Brooks put out a message. Now, he didn't have eligibility left, but saying he's declaring for the draft, which, you take that to mean not playing in the bowl game. So we anticipate not seeing either of those guys in the bowl game, which comes as no surprise, certainly if you've been listening to this show or paying attention. And, wish nothing but the best to both. And Ben Sinnott will have a chance to be a decently high draft pick in this upcoming NFL draft. But anything else, either on that or on the bowl front, as we're heading, we got 16 little over 2 weeks away from K-State's bowl game?
Probably just going to see a lot of young players. Could be fun to watch and see and get a taste of what's to come. Obviously, with Ben Sinnott sitting out, you're going to get a heavy dose of Garrett Oakley, for example.
And we expect Connor Riley to be the OC. I think we've talked about that for the bowl game, at least. And if he does well, we think there's a good shot that he's the offensive coordinator permanently. Is that right, DY?
Yep.
The quarterback coach piece of that, though, how tough will it be to get a quarterback coach and or offensive coordinator if you feel like things don't work out after the bowl game? You're going to have to get one or the other late in the process. That's the part of this that I'll be honest, I really don't like with how quickly everything moves these days and trying to recruit players. And, they're trying to get transfer receivers, and I just keep thinking, what are they telling them about the offensive coordinator? Maybe for these guys, the position coach just matters that much more, and it's have Middleton just handle everything there. But I don't know. That would be a question I would have if I were a receiver. Like, what the hell are you guys actually doing at offensive coordinator?
Because they can't offer a quarterback coach, right, DY, until they know if Connor Riley is going to be the permanent guy. Because if they choose not to go with Connor Riley, they're going to have to hire an OC that may be the quarterback coach too. And coupled as that,
yeah, no, you spelled it out perfectly. I think it's probably going to be Connor Riley at the end of the day. I'd be surprised if it wasn't, because I think they've kind of told others that, he's more than likely going to be the coordinator, and he was on the staff last year, so it's going to be the same system. So if they want to know what Kent State's going to look like as an offense, it's going to be the one it looked like this past year. I think that's probably what they're telling people. And, position coach does matter a lot in terms of kind of trusting the guy that you're going to put your career in. But offense coordinator wise, they're probably saying it's going to be Connor. who's been on the staff. So nothing's changing.
You talk about a lot on that guy's plate, coaching an entire offensive line, 5 starters, and then running the offense too. So that's a lot. And he's always been a guy that's been on the sideline, I believe. So he's probably going to have to go up in the booth, I would think, unless he entrusts LePack and others to talk down to him in the headset and tell him what they're seeing. I don't know. It's going to be a really interesting dynamic. Are we thinking, DY, they're going to retain everybody at this point on the staff? Middleton, LePack, still okay.
Well, I mean, I haven't heard anything about Middleton, so I think he's fine. I mean, I don't think he was ever like a liability. Not that I've heard. Obviously, something could happen tomorrow and change my mind, right? College football storylines, news cycles, they last like a minute anymore, and the next minute you're wrong. So never say never. Haven't heard anything imminent. Then that's the best I could tell you in terms of Connor Riley going up at the booth, going on the sideline. Offensive line coach kind of has to be on the sideline. So I would imagine he'd actually stay on the sideline. But there's a lot of head coaches that call plays, so I don't see how that's.
Yeah. Do you think it's odd that we've never seen a statement from Chris Kleiman, or even I don't think Texas A&M's officially announced Colin Klein.
I checked it the other day. There was not an official announcement for Texas A&M yet, and not that we're trying to say there's
no.
But it's been bizarre how all of it has been handled. Yes.
Yeah. A&M has never formally announced Klein, and then K-State has never made any sort of formal statement on what Colin Klein leaving, what the plan is moving forward, interim offensive coordinator, et cetera. Chris Kleiman hasn't had any sort of media or anything along those lines in a couple of weeks now.
I think the plan was to have something this Friday, is what I was just told not long ago. So, and when this happened last time, he waited till he had his press conference. Hard to schedule a press conference when you're on the road every day.
Yeah, he's definitely got a lot of priorities that he's trying to juggle right now, him and the entire coaching staff. So
it's not a good. I mean, like, that's why I haven't complained that there hasn't been a presser. Like, when do you want him to hold a press conference? He's not in Manhattan.
Right. No, I think we'd all rather him be out recruiting for the next year's team. I just, it's interesting to me that they haven't done that. It's interesting to me that Texas A&M's never formally announced him. I'm not trying to indicate or hint that something could fall through there by any means, like John said. But
yeah,
I just find that all of note. I also wonder, guys, if the cost, like Colin Klein was going to make almost $1 million. Like, I don't know what they're going to pay Connor Riley, but I would imagine it won't be at that level. Can they use some of that savings, sprinkle it toward the quarterback coach that they really want? Because the quarterback coach is of ultra importance with Avery Johnson. So you really need to get the guy, if it is Connor Riley as OC, you need to do everything you can to get the guy at quarterbacks coach. And I think we have an idea of who they may target there. And, they're going to probably have to throw some money that way.
I went to the Texas A&M site just to see if he's listed. And, like, they have a story about Mike Elko being head coach and have the video of his introductory press conference. But technically on their coaching staff page, they still has Elijah Robinson as the interim head coach. So
all right.
They haven't really updated anything, apparently.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I was just waiting for the video of Colin, swaying, doing that dumb shit that they do. They're fake soldiers there at Texas A&M. I was waiting for that, but we haven't gotten to see that yet.
That could be a skit. That could be a skit that we do.
You guys want to sway with me? Come on, let's go. 12th man.
Well, I think we probably need to create I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to participate. So we probably need to think about, would you stop swaying? Gosh. We probably need to think of a skit that we can do to mock A&M and, with their whole yell leader, midnight yell thing that those guys do. Can you imitate it, John? What do they do? Like,
Rock the Good Ag told us back in 1912 that Mississippi State's a bunch of hillbillies. I don't know.
And then what do they do? They're like, ooh-ah! Like, they do like some like dance thing. Yeah. Oh, that's it. Yeah. We should start incorporating that into everything we say on the pod. Like, DY makes a great point. Whoop! Yeah.
That's not bad. That's not bad. If only we didn't have day jobs,
Yeah, I know, man. Hey, Texas A&M fans might find Fremont. Let's see if we can irritate another one. but I hate those guys.
Texas A&M, a fan base that certainly has a place to talk about embarrassing videos finding their way onto the internet. It is quite literally never happened to Texas A&M. Okay, basketball, you've got Nebraska coming up on Sunday. Top of the list for me will be, does Richard Linton show up? But outside of that, intrigue in the game with the Cornhuskers. What are we expecting out of Nebraska ball coming to MHK?
I think he was at a women's basketball game since the last men's game, and that was before graduation. I do think he got booed there even. So that I believe.
Let's go. Good job, fans. Good job. Women's basketball fans. I thought they might, be a little more chill and laid back. That's good to hear.
Right. That's the number 12 team in the country.
I was going to say, we're going to figure out a way to talk about that. That team is
they're
impressive.
Dude, they're incredible. Yes, they're incredible.
Yeah.
In terms of that game, Cole probably can dig into the weeds a little bit more. I can't say that I've done a ton of research yet on Nebraska, but I do know that they were cooking there for a minute, then got blown out by Nebraska. They are Nebraska. Got blown out by Creighton by 30 at Pinnacle Bank Arena. I think that's what their arena is called in Lincoln. Right. They did respond with the win over Michigan State. Might be more of an indictment on the Spartans right now, who are a little bit of a work in progress, but they still have that really good guard that give Kansas State, a handful in the tournament. Yeah, so Michigan State still got some dudes. I think Nebraska is a lot more solid than they typically are, but it's still a game that Kansas State should win, especially with the way that they've played in the last two ball games.
It's shocking what's happened to Michigan State. Not to get off topic, but they have Tyson Walker and AJ Hoggard back, and Jordan Akins, who hit a ton of big shots against K-State. And then they got Xavier Booker, who was a top 10 player in the country, I believe. Yeah, he's not looking good. And Malik Hall is back for him, a guy that's been like a fifth-year guy that's played a ton. The only big guy that they really lost was, what is his name? The dude that hit the threes against K-State so much in the game last year, the Hauser. Hauser's like the one big piece that they lost, but they are really struggling. So Nebraska beats them by 7 in Lincoln.
I still give Nebraska credit for beating Michigan State.
Yeah. And so, look, Nebraska's 60th in KenPom. I think that's better than a lot of us thought they would be. They were actually in the 40s until the 29-point loss to Creighton. That really hurt their advanced metrics and analytics. But they have some pieces, man. Jawan Gary, really good player. He leads them in scoring, 58% from the floor, 35%. He's a transfer from Alabama. Originally, he's like that 6'6", 6'7", can play on the perimeter, can go down low and bang. And then they landed a transfer by the name of Bryce Williams, who's another 6'7" junior from Charlotte, I believe. Yeah, he's a fourth-year guy from Charlotte that averaged 14 points a game last year. He's averaging 14 for him this year. And then Tomiyaga, a guy who can shoot the three. K-State fans probably saw him last year. Good, a nice shooter. He's more of a scorer for him, not a big guard by any means. I would think Tyler Perry will be able to get open against him. And then, you look at their advanced metrics, they're 29th offensively in KenPom. They're 126th defensively. So not a good defensive team. K-State should be able to score the ball against them.
Game's already been called a sellout, but the students are on break. Do we think it'll be full still?
Yeah, I think they'll probably, what they're going to do, because I think they opened up.
They'll sell those tickets, right?
Yeah, they're going to probably sell a bunch of GA tickets, because I think with the claiming system, the students that are going to go, they have to claim early, even earlier this week than usual, I believe. And so they'll have an idea of approximately how many are going to show up. And then they'll probably sell a bunch of extra GA tickets for an affordable price for families, getting an early start on the holiday break. Potentially, I think it'll be a really good crowd. There's not a chance in hell that the president of Kansas State University shows up at that game. So he will not show himself. So when Willie? Does he show up this season? I don't know. So
doesn't Mitch, our friend Mitch Fortner, have to read like a line at the very beginning when they're like getting ready to get into starting lineups? That's like, welcome to Bramlage Coliseum, and Kansas State.
On behalf of President Richard Linton.
Yeah, on behalf of Kansas State University President Richard Linton. So, there will at least be a mention of him at some point, I believe.
Yep.
But what we think, I wouldn't put it past the guy to take that out.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised in any way if that's, taken out.
I'll have to text Mitch.
What was I saying? Because it's on behalf of President Richard Lynn and Athletics Director Gene Taylor. Is it now only on behalf of Gene Taylor?
Just say on behalf of Gene Taylor and Jerome Tang, we welcome you. So,
we'll see.
Although the reaction from the fans would be interesting.
What do we have to pay to get them to say on behalf of the Three Maw podcast?
Well, we can ask Mitch what that might be. All right, I
think Mitch probably values his job, so I'm.
Well, I was going to pay him to do it, yeah, but.
Well,
yeah.
Right. Are you going to pay him enough to make up for all the lost wages that he would get by not being the PA guy anymore? Or?
Good point. I guess you brought it up. Damn it.
We think long term here. We're not short sighted thinkers.
I was just thinking one game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, I got to get my Wichita State tickets, man. That's going to be a crazy crowd. John, are you going to go?
Yeah, well, I think when is it again?
I'm sure our listeners always love us making our travel plans and ticketing plans on the show.
Thursday.
It's a Thursday, December 21st.
Thursday after this Nebraska game. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'll definitely try to go, unless the tickets are crazy expensive. But yeah, I'll try to go.
Well, there's hardly any left.
There's hardly any left. They've already sold over 18,000 tickets.
Well, that's what I know. That's why I said it depends on what I'll see for the prices there. I did not act very fast on that. I'm still getting used to being a fan thing, you know?
DY, the prices. John's just going to float on the next pod. Hey, anyone have any extra tickets? And somebody will DM him and he'll have tickets.
Hell, I'll just do it now. Yeah. Hey, Cole, do you have tickets yet, Cole? You don't have tickets.
I don't.
All right. Please
help.
Get us some tickets. Get us like a block of, what do you need? Brody's going, I'm sure.
Yeah, Vanessa even acted interested in going to this one. So I'm gonna wear the Grinch costume to the game with her.
I bet I don't have to cover it from the hockey press box either.
Yeah. Well, you said a shot at Mr. Goldmark.
Well, but you are DY going to have to cover Big 12 Media Day from Las Vegas next year. So
yeah, which some people are excited about, but I was just in Vegas. I didn't have to go again. Like,
I'm not a Vegas guy, so it does nothing for me. And I don't love that they're just like waving the white flag on Dallas as soon as the SEC is trying to encroach in there a little bit. But
well, isn't there a soccer? I think it's because of the soccer stuff, right, or something. I don't know. I thought
is it okay? I don't know.
Maybe I don't know. Yeah,
I would say that I'm not. Yeah, here's my thing with Vegas is like it's lost its luster because now I can gamble on sports here.
Yeah, I don't anticipate the Three Maw crew being present in full capacity in Las Vegas, but
yeah, see, we did Big 12 Media Days because we could just drive to Dallas. Now
yeah,
it's like
maybe we could drive to Vegas. DY, you want to take us?
I mean, if you want
to drive, man.
That was a joke. I have no interest in riding in the car with you guys, and we would fight too much.
We never fight.
We would on that long of a drive. We bicker all the time. So
I would say, yeah, we bicker. We don't fight. I would say we bicker.
We bicker. Yeah, John more than you, DY. John takes a lot of shots at me. He's really mean. Constantly makes jabs, calling my place Antarctica, Spring Hill South, like he's got a problem with Spring Hill, by the way. Lovely town.
I think most of our listeners have probably turned it off by now.
That's
we're just talking about what people like. Cole, look, it's not my fault you chose to live in Oklahoma, dude. Like if you live in Oklahoma, I'm just going to call it out. I'm not going to, say that all of a sudden it's Nebraska. It's Oklahoma. Speaking of, I guess, the game after Nebraska, 4 tickets for Wichita State. If you got 4 tickets for Cole and I to Wichita State, slide in the DMs. Slide the DMs at J.O. Kurtz on Twitter.
We'll pay too, John. Make that clear. We're not looking for handouts. I mean, you might be. I'll pay.
I mean, if someone was willing to just give them to us, I would. Who am I?
DY's like, end this shit. I'm tired of listening to you guys. DY, can I cover the game with you as a stringer?
I don't need it.
He doesn't trust you.
You don't think I can do it on my own?
Well, I was gonna like write a sidebar story for you, but I guess
Cole will Cole will cover the Richard Linton beat. He'll be walking around looking to see if he's there, asking people questions if they've seen him.
Well, then I better go to. I guess I should be on site in Manhattan then for that game. Instead of Kansas City. So,
yeah. Okay. I will mercifully get us out of here. We appreciate Nick Springer behind the scenes. We appreciate Ben Holiday Bottled and Bond Bourbon and 360 Vodka from our friends at Holiday Distillery. Please go out and support them. Same with Homefield Apparel. It's homefieldapparel.com, 3MONT23 for 15% off your first order there. And we will talk to you all soon. Have a lovely day, and we'll see you on the next edition of 3MONT. Take care.